Freedom Radio Hour. Live on Capital Radio 91.6 FM.
All right, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Freedom Radio Hour. I'm your host, Adam Cruz, and I'm here with my fantastic co-host right here,
Eddie Nicholas. What up, beautiful people, and welcome to 91.6 FM, the heartbeat of Sedan and DWildMusicRadio.com, right here on your station.
Exactly.
What's up, Mr. Cruz?
Well, let us take a moment and let our viewers and our listeners know that the Freedom Radio Hour is here, not only giving you fantastic music, but we're here to be your number one source for music, business, news, and trends from around the globe. I'm so excited to see you again.
Yes.
I had to follow up on a previous episode. You know, we were talking about Facebook and eavesdropping. Remember, we were asking the question, is Facebook eavesdropping on our personal conversations via our phones being next to us and that microphone being enabled? Are they able to eavesdrop on you and then feed you targeted ads based on something that you might mention, a product, a song, or something, right? And so Facebook, in a recent web summit, a tech conference, if you will, they said absolutely not. We're not engaging in any of that. And you and I talked about that. But the very interesting thing, since that discussion, another piece of information has come out that I want to get your opinion on.
Ooh.
So Facebook has had issues because right as they were uncovering a possible connection between Russia and the U.S. in terms of the U.S. election, they're trying to really investigate this very heavily here in the States. One of the things they found is that there were some Russian outfits that were purchasing advertisements on Facebook and feeding misinformation and fake news to sway the election. Why? Because they spent so much money and so much time and populating those kinds of articles and misinformation that it created fake information about a candidate or the opponent, right?
Oh, my God. You know, I'm going to get to it, but when you're saying that, I just watched the old 1950s classic movie that targeted exactly what you're talking about.
Think about it.
It came from outer space.
Oh.
1958. In that movie, this gentleman was sent to way up in Alaska, but he was feeding misinformation to the general public that it was coming from Mars.
And what was the purpose of doing that?
The purpose of doing it was to change the mindset.
And so this is what they're alleging that Russia was trying to do in the U.S. election. Change the mindset of folks by giving them and feeding them misinformation. So as we were discussing this issue about whether Facebook was eavesdropping on you or not, it comes out that right after that occurred, after that news broke that Facebook had allowed these Russian outfits to buy ads and perpetuate these articles, that Facebook announced, we're going to put together a sort of a collection of fact checkers. And we're going to be able to flag in a much better way fake news. So they incorporated Associated Press, Snopes, ABC News, Politico, Fact Check, and all these other outfits to be these sort of buffers. And so if they detected that an item was in fact fake, they would flag it and then it would push it down to the bottoms, if you will, of the feed, so it didn't come up as presently as the others, right?
Okay.
So they thought that would be a good way to do it. Well, the studies have just come out, and it's turned out that that's pretty much largely ineffective.
Of course it's ineffective, because how do you know who is true? How do you know who is a true poster and who is not? And money is money, regardless of where it comes from. And if you're not checking where the source is coming from, hey, I'm over here in Russia, but I'm going to call up my buddy Adam Cruz over in the United States, drop some money in his account, and tell him to open me up an account, blah, 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 blah,
Right,
blah.
and it happened. Yes, and so there's this big problem because not only has it been found to be largely ineffective, they're also saying that it continues. In other words, now that we're beyond the election, it's not that these things have ceased to occur. It's still happening, and we still understand that we have no real management or any control of it really occurring, even now.
And well, not only that, even regardless if it's not even from Russia, when you look at a lot of the stuff that is being posted and circulated, especially up on Facebook now, you really got to read all the way to the end of many of these articles.
Right.
And when you get to the end of these articles, they basically tell you that this article is not true, or that it is, what do you call it, when you make fun of.
Yes, like a spoof or a parody.
A parody,
yes.
So, you know,
some sort of satirical
a
article.
lot of this stuff is so close to truth.
Yes,
but
and they look like
parody, and it looks like it could be truth until you get to the end of the article, and then they tell you. And again, I'm always the type of person. Well, wait a minute, this don't sound right. Let me question this other resource, and you do your own research. That's if you're interested enough to finding out the truth.
So I was trying to thank you for that. I was interested in flipping the conversation just a little, only because it fascinated me that there's this ability for Facebook to do this like really sort of precise targeted ads and allow these things to occur. And I'm like, wow, couldn't it be great though if you could switch this power and provide more opportunity for artists? Because we are a music business show. So I'm thinking, why couldn't it, so like they could detect your voice as you talk, they could automatically detect you or direct you to buying an Eddie Nicholas song because they, in other words, Shazammed your voice and that came up. And then it would help you to have like targeted ads fed to people that were interested in that sound. So I was just thinking, okay, there's one way to talk about the negativity that occurs when all this meddling happens with targeted ads and such. But there is a way in which I feel like the music business, again, is out of step and not taking full advantage of this interesting thing that's happening. Like, why couldn't the labels get together and say, okay, how can you adopt that technology and be able to detect?
Oh, trust me, somebody sitting in somebody's little think tank and has already thought it up. They just haven't found a way to make money from it. With that, we'll be back with you shortly. 91.6 FM, the heartbeat of Sedan, D-Wild Music Radio.
Thanks. Come back with us, all right?
Freedom Radio Hour. Live on Capital Radio 91.6 FM.
What up, beautiful people, and welcome back to 91.6 FM in the heartbeat of Sedan and D-Wild Music Radio. I'm sitting here with the one and only. I'm going to let him introduce himself.
Mr. Adam Cruz, and you're live and direct with us on the Freedom Radio Hour. We're your number one source for music, business, news, and trends from around the globe. Before we broke, we were talking about Facebook and what we could do to sort of deal with some of the negativity around the news. We're learning that Facebook has allowed sort of Russian outfits to buy ads that would then send misinformation to meddle in the election.
It's just not Russians. It's anybody who has money that wants to buy ads.
Yes, but we're talking about in the current context of this election, right? But I was saying, why can't we flip that and adopt that technology to then be able to identify your speaking voice or mine and say, oh, okay, you know, that's the same as Adam Cruz and his Freedom album and all this stuff, and yours with Time Marches On, and all these songs should be able to pop up because you're a working artist and you have material out there that could be Shazammed. You know, Shazam is that little tool that now in a club or something. I just did it last Saturday. We were down in DC having a good time, and I Shazammed a couple of times tracks that I heard because I didn't know them. And so Shazam detects the songs if you give it a few moments. So I'm like, why can't we adopt? It seems like they have so many ways.
Well, who's to say that they're not already doing it? And that's the issue. That's what we don't know. Because you just gave a fine example with Shazam. That's recognizing voices.
Right.
Voices or music, I would say more so a voice, because you need to hear the voice to recognize whatever is being sung or performed. So with that, Shazam has already used that. But who's to say that that is not being used in the private sector or part of, and I know FBI and all.
Oh, I know it. I want to see it in this creative way.
In the creative way.
Yeah.
So you know,
but I feel like this. I feel like we're in this beginning of a lot of futurism. A lot of futuristic things are going to be occurring. Like
that were already done and already predicted back with Nostradamus and
I guess
and, you know, and all the other folks that predicted all of this stuff.
You know, I don't follow any of that stuff. Yeah,
well,
but I feel like we're in the new age is upon us. Like even just YouTube has just announced that finally, and it seems like a low hanging fruit. But check this out: YouTube just recently launched this ability where if you watch a music video of your favorite artist, a little button clicks and you can buy their concert tickets. You know, you couldn't do that really before.
So it's all connected.
Now it's connected. Why? Because YouTube has just announced a partnership with Ticketmaster. And so now this goes back to our what we're talking about, which is everything in one place. You're going to have these apps and you're going to have these ability to see something and then buy the clothing that you're like, for example, if you watch that same music video and they're wearing a collar shirt that you're interested in, you could, in the future, this is my prediction, that
but
you'll be able to
they're
click.
probably doing it. They're doing it now.
But they're certainly not within YouTube. At least right now, YouTube is saying, look, we're at
Not
the
now,
Ticketmaster piece where you could click and go to the concert of the artist you're checking out. But I'm saying soon it'll be the car that's in the scene, the clothes they wear, the makeup they're wearing. You could click and buy all of that, because I think that's the future, is clicks and likes. And this is why we're in kind of the quagmire we're in with the Russia Facebook story, because this is all about clicks and likes. And what
hashtags
and what gets you into these kind of this sort of articles, so I found that very interesting. And then while this futurism is happening, you have other outfits that are really behind the times. For example, do you know of a radio station online called TunIn?
TunIn Radio, yes.
Yeah. So TunIn Radio is really like 720,000 stations, some odd million subscribers between free and paid and all this stuff. But TunIn is really behind the times, because evidently they are about to be sued by Sony and Warner because of alleged copyright infringement. It's like they haven't gotten the memo that you need to clear this music before it's transmitted through their system. So they're being sued because they uncovered.
Because they want money.
Yes.
They want to get paid.
Yes, but I want that, because I want to be able to adopt that for our music. I don't want our music being used in an unlicensed way. I want, like, for example, Sony and Warner, they found out that there were 800 unlicensed music streams happening on TunIn. So they're suing them in the UK, because in the UK, you can't do that without paying ahead of time. Whereas here in the US, we rely on a blanket license, so that on the radio, you could just listen to whatever's there without the radio station feeling like they're about to be sued. The way TunIn is right now.
Or take ownership that we cleared this to be played.
Yeah, but evidently in the UK systems, they ought to have had that music cleared. TunIn is saying, look, we're just a pipeline, man. Step off. We're just this outfit like we've described. You turn us on, you can hear whatever we got. We have hundreds of thousands of stations hosted by third-party outfits. How are we to police all that?
The funnel to the conduit.
Well, you have, so anyway, so now they have until the end of November, TunIn does, to apply what's called a defense to this claim that that Sony and Warner has uncovered 800 unlicensed music streams. So now I think this is going to get us down the road of possible TunIn and other outfits maybe shutting their doors, because how are they going to be able to pay the legal costs? Because a lot of these things take a few years' time.
But again, what kills me is
fast.
that with these major companies going to battle, none of the money still trickles down. None of the
to
major
us, to
money
the artists,
trickles down
yes.
to the artists.
Yes.
So that's what still gets me upset when they're going to fight. No, you're not fighting. You're fighting for your corporation. You're not fighting for the artist.
And meanwhile, like I'm saying earlier, that there's all this futurism happening, all these like new ways to get you to engage and connect with your favorite artists, that you look at Pandora and TunIn and outfits like that and kind of side eye them like, wow, you guys are really sort of behind the times. Let's take another break. When we come back, we're going to break down, speaking of Pandora, something very interesting that's going on with them. You should know about them, because I know you like them, don't you? You like them.
Motown, yes. I
Yes.
to that Motown station.
All right, let's take a break. We'll come back in 1 second, all right?
91.6 FM, D-Wild Music Radio.
Freedom Radio Hour, y'all. Come back.
Freedom Radio Hour.
And we're back live on Capital Radio 91.6 FM, the heartbeat of Sudan, and on the web at dwildmusicradio.com. I'm here with my fantastic co-host,
Eddie Nicholas. What up, beautiful people, and welcome back.
Yes.
When we left off, we were talking about all these little situations with media, streaming, and all of that good stuff.
Well, I wanted to really break down a lot of what's happening. So it's like, so again, we're in this space right now where in the music game, we're dealing with this like push-pull effect of like futurism versus like staying stuck in the past.
So 1989
it's weird.
Orwell, what is that? What's that book?
I don't know, 1984, you talking about that stuff?
Whatever that book
yeah.
is. Orwell,
it feels strange because it's like on the one brain, and the one side of your brain says we need to be pushing forward and dealing with new technology, new ways to connect with fans. Yet there's this pull towards going back in time in some way. For example, Pandora is this other outfit that seems to be having some trouble adapting to the present, let alone the future. Pandora's issue is this. the big elephant in the room for them is they've tried different ways to buy different other companies to try to make it more attractive for you as a user. They launched on the stock exchange in June 2011, that valued at $2.6 billion, $16 a share.
And where did this company come from to be worth that much money? You know, that's the craziness of it all.
Where
do these companies come from to be worth this amount of money?
Because there's these like supposed projections of what it could grow to become into. For example, after 2011, they were like, okay, great, there's going to be a lot of growth. So it was valued at $16 a share, and then it went up even further than that, and they were really enjoying some success. But you know, in the last almost 4 years, Pandora has had to admit that they have lost almost $1 billion
in cyber money.
No.
I'm gonna call it cyber money because I can only imagine $1 billion sitting up in there.
Think about $1 billion
in a computer, in an internet system, in someplace. That is crazy.
Yeah, so they basically have had to admit that they have lost $1 billion in less than 3 years. From 2014 to 2017, they lost this $1 billion. They are now valued more closer to $5 a share, which when I told you, remember just earlier, $16 a share, that's quite a bit of a difference. And their big issue is not any sort of external force, it's loss of listeners. Listeners are dropping like flies left and right from the Pandora service. They were very quick to announce that they had this like 5.19 million paid subscribers, which was a big win for Pandora, but it was like putting a band-aid on a gushing wound at that point.
And again, that's to appease their people that bought the stock.
Their shareholders. Sure.
So you know.
And so now there was a talk where Sirius was really considering wanting to buy Pandora, and they put a bid up for like 3-point-something billion or whatever astronomical amount, and Pandora said no. So now that they're worth even a fraction of that, they're saying, oh, maybe the powers that be made poor choices. They should have sold when Sirius was biting, because now they're at a much lower value than they were even at that
The word
time.
is called greed.
But I think this is an interesting thing. I think
it is very interesting.
I think I've been trying to lead to this in past episodes, that I think interactive streaming is a dead end. What I mean is interactive streaming is the ability to stream music that you hear through a radio style system like Pandora, where you can't choose specific songs. You could choose an artist and hear music like him or her and others, like Eddie likes his Motown, right? But you can't choose the Supremes, all specific, and go back and forth.
And
you
just
can.
all comes in whatever that rotation.
Like a radio, whatever it is, right? So I argue for a long time now that I think interactive streaming is on the way out, because people, if they're willing to spend that $10 a month, they can get a Spotify, which is pay as you would pay, get on demand, whatever you want. You don't have to wait. You could do the
Choose your own
playlist.
playlist.
Yeah, and now Spotify does all these stations too, and they're all kind of looking it's too much like the same thing. And so Pandora is really behind the times, and it's not at all even dealing with the present. So I think my prediction, unfortunately for Pandora and TunIn, is they're probably going to close their doors. Remember, like Live 365? I think they're going to go away of them. It's going to be a slow process, but unfortunately, I just think that non-interactive streaming is just not a viable business anymore. And it hasn't been for a long time. And as you see, Pandora knew that, because Pandora was trying to they bought a Ticketfly, which is supposed to be the Ticketmaster competitor. They bought these other artists, like assessment platforms. Like, nobody cared. That's really nobody cared. And if you're going to make them pay, they're going to leave your service, Pandora, because they want interactive streaming. They want like a Spotify, Tidal, and Apple. You could switch all around whenever you want. You know? Anyway, that's all the time we have today. But I want you guys to take a moment right now. And Eddie and I have taken the time to update all of our episodes and all of the information we talk about on this show. Download our free app.
Yes,
if you're an
app.
Yes, if you're an iPhone user or an Android user, search us out on App Store or in Google Play. Search out Freedom Radio Hour, And also visit our website at freedomradiohour.com and leave a comment under everything we're posting because we'd love to hear from you. Also, we have a YouTube channel. So if you'd like to see the videos, check us out at youtube.com/Freedom Radio Hour. And of course, on the music tip, my fabulous buddy right here, Eddie. Check him out at eddienicholas.com. And yours truly, check me out at dj@cruz.com for more of our respective fantastic music. Have a good weekend and a good week ahead. I'll see you next time. Peace.
Peace and love. 91.6 FM, dwildmusicradio.com, and freedomradiohour.com. Peace and love.
Yep. And shout out to Humble Beginnings.
Humble beginnings.